listening to Coffee and Conversation with Recovery Advocate Network, the nonprofit organization that strives to address the staggering disparity in resource availability for individuals suffering from mental health disorders, processing disorders, addictions, trauma healing, and sexual identity challenges. Together, we strive to end the stigma associated with these challenges so that true healing can begin.
Welcome back to Coffee and Conversations Between the Lines Blog Club series. My name is Joshua Young, and this is episode number 99. An exciting moment for us, as next week we will hit a major milestone with our 100th episode. To celebrate, we have a special treat in store for our audience. Several members of the RAN team will join us to share their experiences volunteering at RAN, and we'll take some time to reflect on the journey and the future of coffee and conversation. For today's episode, my dear friend Patricia Rae will read a blog post written by me from an anonymous perspective, entitled Grieving What Never Was, the Complex Loss of an Abusive Parent. Patricia is probably best known as an actor and producer, but she wears many hats: activist, artist, healer, painter, podcaster, and humanitarian. She has been a recurring reader for us here at RAN, and her contributions are invaluable. Some of you may recognize Patricia from her impressive body of work. Her first feature film role was in the cult classic Swim Fan, and she earned critical acclaim for her performance in the Oscar-nominated film Maria Full of Grace. She's also appeared in The Big Wedding, sharing the screen with legends like Robert De Niro and Diane Keaton. Her television credits are just as noteworthy, including appearances in NCIS Los Angeles, Blue Bloods, Law & Order, The Mentalist, and many more. Her first long recurring role was as Judge Abigail Delgado on the CBS TV series All Rise. In addition to her work in film and TV, Patricia hosts her own podcast, Believe This, where she and her co-host debate hot topic issues from their differing perspectives. You can listen to Believe This on any major podcast platform. We want to take a moment to express our gratitude to Patricia for her passionate, genuine, and dramatic delivery in her volunteer work here at RAN. Patricia, thank you. Your dedication is truly inspiring. We are honored to have you with us for this journey. Between the Lines episodes are written by guests who often prefer to use their written voice instead of their interview voice to share their stories. As a reminder, the views expressed in any blog are the views of the author, and the purpose is to provide a safe place for the author's voice to be heard. Just a quick reminder about Recovery Advocate Network, or RAN. RAN's mission is to support individuals dedicated to their recovery journey, but facing challenges due to insurance loopholes. Your donation, no matter how small, will help provide crucial financial assistance to those in need and make a significant difference in changing and saving lives. We are grateful to have you as a part of our community, so please consider visiting our website at www.recoveryadvocatenetwork.org and clicking the donate button today. So, what are we waiting for? Fill up your coffee, sit back, and let's get started.
Grieving What Never Was, the Complex Loss of an Abusive Parent. Read by Patricia Rae, written by Joshua Young, based on an anonymous perspective. Grieving the loss of an abusive parent is a unique and complicated experience, unlike any other kind of grief. When my father passed away, the sadness I felt wasn't just about losing a person. It was about losing the possibility of something better. Something I had always yearned for but never received. I knew for years that my dad was on borrowed time. His cancer diagnosis was 8 years ago, maybe even 10 years back. Honestly, the exact time escapes me now. But despite knowing that, I never really believed he would die. He seemed like the kind of person who would just keep going, fueled by his own bitterness and anger. I used to tell people that he was too mean to die. And yet, just a few days ago, he did. Losing someone who's had such a profound yet painful influence on your life is a strange, unsettling experience. My father's life was marked by hardship and poor choices, and those choices didn't just affect him. They hurt everyone around him, especially me. As his daughter, I was the primary target of his emotional cruelty. My earliest memories are shadowed by a sense that he despised me. I can't claim to know how he truly felt because he rarely showed any emotions other than anger. I remember only 2 instances when he told me he loved me, both times under the influence of alcohol. That lack of love and approval shaped my entire worldview, making me believe that I was the problem, that I wasn't smart enough, good enough, or worthy enough. This belief led me down some dark paths. I sought validation in all the wrong places, becoming promiscuous in high school and entering relationships with men who mirrored my father's flaws, hoping in vain to win his love through them. When he asked me to move my wedding to my childhood church, I did, thinking it might finally make him proud of me. But no matter what I did, I never earned his love. When I was going through my divorce and the abuse I had suffered from my brother came to light, my father made a choice that cut me deeply. He disowned me, choosing to support another abuser instead of his daughter. Despite clear evidence of the truth, he told me that I was no longer his family, that he never wanted to see or hear from me again. That kind of rejection is brutal. But even after that, I tried. A few years ago, I sent him a birthday card telling him that I loved him and expressing a hope that we could reconnect. He never responded. I was fully aware that he was dying slowly, and I prayed that as he neared the end, he might see the person I had become, see the good I was doing in the world, and reach out to me. I held on to a fragile hope that he might, in his final moments, tell me that he was proud of me, that he loved me. But that hope was in vain. Instead, I received a cold and personal text message notifying me of his death. After years of wondering how I would feel when this moment came, I was still caught off guard. How do I feel? Disoriented. Who exactly have I lost? I'm nearly 50 years old, and many of my peers have already lost their parents. Their grief is public, marked by ceremonies, social media tributes, and visible mourning. But with my father, it's different. I feel both numb and deeply wounded. This grief is unlike any I've ever known. When my beloved aunt died of cancer, the grief was straightforward, understandable. This is a tangled web of emotions that I can't easily unravel. I find myself in turmoil. Am I angry, sad, hurt, indifferent? Do I even care? Should I care? What will people think of me? Those who heard me say he's too mean to die. Do I have the right to feel sad? Will people judge me for mourning when I've said such harsh things? Am I as strong as I've always pretended to be? The truth is, I'm not. But I know one thing. I deserved a father who loved me, and I deserved to grieve the death of that father, even if he only existed in my hopes. What I'm mourning isn't just the loss of a parent, but the loss of what could have been. The loss of a dream I clung to, that one day my father would see my worth, tell me he was proud of me, and offer me the love and validation I desperately needed. That possibility is gone now, forever out of reach. I'll never receive that loving embrace, never attend a funeral to mourn a great man, because truthfully, my father wasn't a great man. There's also a heavy burden of guilt. I know I should take time off to grieve, but what will that look like? Am I going to attend this service? Probably not. Will I help with the arrangements? No. So what do I do with this time? Am I supposed to be picking out caskets or writing eulogies? Should I just return to work and pretend nothing happened? After all, he disowned me, and I disowned him. Does that mean I should simply carry on as if this were just another ordinary day? And yet beneath it all, there's profound sadness, deep, soul-wrenching sadness. I longed to pick up the phone one day and hear his voice on the other end, telling me he was proud of me, that he loved me. In that moment, I would have dropped everything to be with him, to give him all the love I had stored up. But the call never came. I reached out, but he turned me away, and eventually I couldn't keep trying. Still, I never blocked his number. Even when family turmoil flared up, I held on to that tiny shred of hope that maybe, just maybe, he would reach out one day. Now I'm left to face the reactions of others. When people offer their sympathies, saying things like, "I bet he was so proud of you," I'll know deep down that he wasn't. When they say, "I'm sure he'll be missed," I'll have to confront the reality that he probably won't be. And there's a certain shame in that. There's also an unsettling sense of incompletion. This doesn't feel like the resolution I imagined. His presence, even from a distance, has always loomed over me like a dark shadow. Now that he's gone, it feels like that shadow is starting to dissipate, but I'm left wondering if I'm truly ready to live without it. Has that darkness been so constant, so familiar, that the thought of living without it is more daunting than I ever realized? Is the freedom I've longed for actually something I'm afraid to embrace? People who haven't walked this path might think they understand what it means to lose an abusive parent. They might assume that his death brings relief, a sense of release from the chains of that painful relationship. But the reality is far more complex. The grief doesn't just evaporate. Instead, it takes on a different shape. For many, losing a parent means mourning the memories they cherished. But for those of us who have survived abuse, it's about mourning the loss of potential, the hope that things could have been different, that there could have been a chance for healing, for reconciliation, for love. When an abusive parent passes away, it's not just the end of their life, it's the end of any hope for a different story. For those with loving families, grief is about the absence of something precious. But for someone like me, the grief is rooted in the absence of something that was never there. The love, acceptance, and connection that should have been but wasn't. It's the pain of knowing that that opportunity for that relationship is now lost, irretrievably gone.
Thank you for joining us today with your coffee and conversation. We hope you've been encouraged and learned something from today's story. To learn more about today's guest, please check out our show notes for more details. Now it's time to remember to like this episode, subscribe, and turn on your notifications to ensure you do not miss future episodes. Recovery Advocate Network envisions a world where individuals with mental health challenges receive comprehensive and effective treatment without the worry of financial burdens to themselves or their families, all without the stigmas often present in society. We are proud that every individual worked with RAN does so on a 100% volunteer basis. You can support the mission by making a financial donation via PayPal or Venmo, or email donate@recoveryadvocatenetwork.org if you would like to donate items for our next fundraising auction. Please visit our website at www.recoveryadvocatenetwork.org to learn more. Now, stay in the loop about upcoming events, future episodes, and more by following us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter X, TikTok, LinkedIn, and all major podcast platforms. As a reminder, the experiences and advice expressed in this episode are the host and guest's own personal stories and do not represent the opinions of any organization mentioned. RAN is passionate about opening the doors for all voices and experiences, not just those expressed in any particular podcast. If you want to share your experiences or expertise, we encourage you to be a future guest by emailing us at podcast@recoveryadvocatenetwork.org or submit a blog by emailing blog@recoveryadvocatenetwork.org. We also encourage you to comment on the episode so that we can continue to provide content that is most beneficial to the community. How do you do that? Visit our website at www.recoveryadvocatenetwork.org, and in the top right corner, click that comment button and comment. So listeners, what do you need to do? Pause what you're doing, subscribe, follow us. Please give us a like and a 5-star rating, write some meaningful comments, and most importantly, share these episodes with your friends. You never know whose heart you will touch, so please be a part of a reason someone has new hope today. If this episode was triggering to you, we encourage you to contact your support system, therapist, national and community support groups, the Global Crisis Text Line by texting 741-741, and/or if in the U.S., dialing 988 to reach the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. If you're in the U.S. and need additional resources such as shelter, support group resources, transportation, food, and/or a safe, confidential path out of physical or emotional domestic abuse, please call 211 or visit www.211info.org for assistance. Now, we know you are very busy, and we are grateful that you said yes to sharing time with us today. If you stuck to our 3 C's of engagement and listened to the full episode, then visit the podcast section of our website and leave the comment about the podcast, and you'll be entered to win an autographed copy of one of the books from one of our book club series, as well as a Coffee and Conversation coffee mug. So thanks again. Until next time, back to your coffee.